For those who did business studies in high school, you did the topic. For also those who have done um, commerce, you've also done the topic, that is forms of business organization. And there are various forms of business of an organization, things like sole proprietorship, partnership, companies, cooperatives, and others. So we shall now start by defining what is a form of business ownership or organization. So when we talk of a form of business organization, we are talking of how a business is composed, how an organization is run, starting with the ownership, going all the way to its maybe operations. Because as we shall find, or as we shall see, various forms of business organizations have different types of ownership, and at the same time, they have different types of organizations. So that's what we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at different types of business organization, and we shall also be looking at how these businesses are run and they are operated. So we shall first of all list those forms of business organization. One, we shall start with the sole proprietorship. We shall also go on and we look at partnership. From partnership, we shall look at cooperatives. From cooperatives, we shall look at uh, companies, both public and private companies. So let's start with the sole proprietorship. But before we go to the sole proprietorship, we shall say that when we talk of business organization or this form of business ownership, we look at one, the formation requirements. We shall also look at how easy it is to create this business organization. We shall also look at how the expenses that are required to start, the government control and regulations, the liability of these particular businesses, the legal requirement, and such. So that's when we'll be talking of the forms of business organization. Those are the areas that we shall be looking at, or the factors that we shall be looking at. So let's start with sole proprietorship. So just like the word sole means or says, that is one, single. Sole means a single. So this is a form of business ownership that is owned by a single person called a sole proprietor. This is the simplest and the easiest way an entrepreneur can start a business. So and this is what maybe you usually find in the villages. Like, that shop that is owned by Mama Joki, that shop that is owned by Kamau, that shop that is owned by Othiambo, Akinyi, Musioka, that shop that is owned by Musa, Halima, or that is a sole proprietorship. And we are saying that one of the first thing that you have to look at when you're talking of a sole proprietorship is the ownership. And we say that for a sole proprietorship, the business is owned by a single person. That is the person that we refer to as the sole proprietor. That's when we talk of a sole proprietorship. And this particular sole proprietor is the person who manages the business and controls all the activities of this particular business. And this is the most common form of business ownership. It's the one that you find in most of businesses that are there, businesses that are owned by a single person. And this single person is a person who ensures that the business runs well. So let's look at the advantages of the sole proprietorship. Number one is that by being the own boss, or you being own boss, the owner has full control and eliminates chance of conflict or misunderstanding during decision making. We say that this is a business that is started or owned by a single person, and by the virtue of it being owned by a single person, this particular person is not answerable to anybody. He does or he manages the business in his own way. He does not consult anybody. So there is no conflicts, there is no disagreements when it comes to decision making. So that's when you talk of a sole proprietor. Advantage number two is that it is simple to create and to dissolve. A sole proprietorship just requires you to have some capital. There is no a lot of legal framework that is put across for starting these particular sole proprietorships. So it is a very simple form of business to start as well as to create. The other one is that there is low cost of creating the business. The cost of starting this particular business is very, very low. Sole proprietorship it just requires just capital. There is no need of legal papers that you need to set up a sole proprietorship. So that's when we talk of the sole proprietorship. The other one is that there is total command over decision and profits. A sole proprietor has full control over the profits of the business. The sole proprietor is the one who makes the decision, is the one who shares the profits alone. There is nothing, there is no one who comes to come to ask for maybe the share of profit because he has owned the business alone. The other one is that there is very few tax basis. The tax basis for a sole proprietor, like most of them, they are very small. And the tax that they are currently in Kenya that they are supposed to pay is only what we call the turnover tax. Unlike in other bigger forms of businesses, like companies, they will pay what we call the corporation tax. They will also pay what we call the VAT. They will be submitting the VAT returns. So, unlike for companies and like for other big business forms of business organization, for sole proprietorship, they will only be required to only pay this type of tax, that is turnover tax. And for those sole proprietorship that are bigger, they will only be required to pay taxes based on the payee or the individuals. There is no complex tax things. That's when you talk of that. The other thing is now the disadvantages. What are the demerits of this particular organization? Number one is that it is not easy to raise capital to start one's own business. Yes, if I ask most of you, I know currently the tune amongst the learners has changed, whereby learners are saying that they would like to be business owners. But if I ask you how easy it is for any of you to raise capital, most of you will say it is not that easy. So because of that, we say that raising capital both individually or from the company, it is usually hard. It is hard to raise capital from this type of business organization or these forms of business organization. So that's when you talk of that. The other one is that there is a risk of financial loss as the owner risks all the investment puts in their business. Yes, one thing that we shall find with this form of business organization, it is the same with the owner. A sole proprietorship and the owner are not separated. This is what we call they are unincorporated. They are not like companies. So if the owner of the business starts the business, it maybe contribute some capital to the business and start the business. The business, if the business fails, and maybe at some point it is also not even able to pay its liabilities or its loans, this particular form of business will the owner of this business will also suffer. If the business is auctioned, the owner will also lose. So that in talk of there is high risk of financial loss for this type of business organization. The other one is that there is lack of continuity. I've just said that for sole proprietorship, the owner of the business is one with the business. If the owner of the business dies, the business also comes to an end. That's how sole proprietorship is like. And like for companies, even if the people who started the company dies, the company continues to run normally. The cooperatives, the people who started cooperatives, like for example, there are people who started Halabi Sanko. There are those who started Wakurima Sako. Maybe some of them died long time ago, but the circle is still there. But for shops, for sole proprietorship, you've seen a shop which was owned by someone. When he dies, the doors of that particular shop are also closed. So that's when we talk of that too. The other one is that the opportunities of raising other further capital is also limited. Yes, when you talk of this sole proprietorship, the chances of getting capital can only come from the owner, or maybe from banks. And this is a small business. So if it being small, even the source of capitals will also be limited, because organizations usually look at the ability of a business to repay back the money when it comes to giving loans. So we are saying that the source of finances for this particular form of businesses will be limited, or they are limited. So that's something that we have to look at in that case. The other one is that they have unlimited liability. Yes, when talk of a sole proprietorship having unlimited liability, I had already hinted earlier on that the sole proprietorship and the sole proprietor are one and the same thing. There is no separation between the business and the owner. The owner of the business is the same with the owner of the business is the same with this with the business. So meaning that the debts of a business are taken to be owned by this owner at the same time. So what it means in this case is, if the business has some debts and it is being liquidated, or it is being dissolved, or they are closing the doors of the business, it means that the owner will be called upon to pay the debts of this particular business. So that's when talk of it has unlimited liability. So the business is taken to be one and the same thing when you compare it with the owner. So that's when talk of unlimited liability. The other one is limited skills. When it comes to starting or sole proprietorship, it does not require some professional skills like other forms of business. Anybody can start a business. If you look at those people, those shopkeepers in our villages, and they have their own shops, they don't. When you ask them, maybe their qualifications for them to start the shops, they will tell you that maybe some of them are not, they don't have that maybe education, those skills. You just start it without any skills. And like some farms, which in some cases they are even specialized. When you talk about specialized farms, these are farms that give some specialized skills. Like, for example, when it comes to firms like medical hospitals, law firms, accounting firms, these ones will require skills. But for sole proprietorship, you don't require any skill. You can just learn it just the normal way. That's when you talk of that. Those are now the disadvantages of sole proprietorship. Let's go to the second type of form of business, that is the partnership. So when we talk of a partnership, this is where two or more people agree to start a business. And for partnership, the maximum number is 20. But note, when talk of the maximum number being 20, we have two maximum. We have a maximum of 20 and another maximum of 50. When talk of a maximum of 20, this is for general partnerships. A general partnership, this is where people just agree, people from different backgrounds agree that they want to start a form of business, maybe not related to their career. Yeah, like for example, if we just decide as a class, let's start a kiosk, that is a general partnership, and it will require between two of us and 20. That's when you talk of a general partnership. Then we have what we call the specialized partnership or professional partnership. For this professional partnership, they require a maximum of 50, a maximum of 50 people. Like for example, when you talk of accounting firms, when you talk of maybe hospitals, law firms, all these will require a maximum of 20 people, 50 people, 50 people. That's when you talk of professional firms. So a partnership is made up of 2 to 20 or 2 to 50 based on what the firm, how the firm has been formed. So that's when you talk of partnership. So when talk of partnership, the partnership being given that it is an organization that has two people. I know some of you, from the look of things, I can see most of you are Christians. And there is this book of Amos that says, two people cannot go together unless they are in agreement. So, what happens for partnership? There is what we call the partnership deed. When these members or these individuals just agree that we want to start a business, and this is what we'll be doing for our business, they usually agree. Then this agreement must be written down into an agreement deed. And this agreement deed is the one that we refer to as the partnership deed. And a partnership deed is an agreement between partners on how they will be handling the business. And let's now look at this partnership deed. And we say that the partnership deed is an agreement that that governs how the partners shall control or regulate the business. And in this partnership deed or agreement, the following must be captured there. One, that is the name of the partnership and those of each partners. Like for example, if we have started a hardware, let's say we have agreed and we want to start a hardware, and we've called it Office Organization Hardware. This hardware, that's the name of the partnership. Then the other thing that we shall indicate in that particular deed is the member of people or the number of people in this particular hardware. That is the main names of the partners. Like for example, we can be talking of this hardware is made up of the foreign partners. Let's say Kinuthia, Abdullah Razak, we have Adhiambo, Michelle. That's when we talk of that. So the partnership, the partnership deed could be should have the name of the partnership as well as when we talk of the names of the partners in this particular form of business. So that's when we talk of the partnership deed. Then another thing that must be there is the general description of the type of business. So we'll be talking of, like, for example, I've given an example of a hardware. So for a hardware business, we'll be talking of we'll be talking of how this particular business, what shall we be selling, what shall we be doing as a business. Like we'll be talking of like it's a hardware, so we'll be saying it is office organization hardware that sells A, B, C, D. We talk of cement, iron sheets, and others. That's when we talk of um, as in talk over the partnership, the general description of a type of business. The other thing is the power and duties of the partners. We'll be talking of what are the powers of each and every partner. What is each partner supposed to do? Like, for example, if there is a partner who is supposed to manage the business, what what is that particular partner? What power have we been given him? We will also be talking of the financial contribution of each partner. When we talk of partnership, the partners usually contribute to the capital of the business. Capital of the business is the finances that are the people's, the owners of the business contribute to start a business. So in the partnership deed, we shall also indicate the number of cash or the amount of resources that each partner has contributed to this particular business. So that's when talk of that. Then the other thing is that how profits and losses are to be divided. So in the partnership deed, we shall also have what we call profit and loss sharing ratio. When we talk of profit and loss sharing ratio, we are talking of we are talking of the ratio with which profit are shared among the partners in our business. Let's say we've agreed we shall be sharing profit and losses equally. That one could be captured. Maybe we shall be sharing profit in the ratio of 1:2:3. That's also something that can be captured in the partnership deed. Then the other thing is that we shall also have something that how partners can leave the business and how a new partner can join the business. Yes, when talk of how a partner can leave a business and how a new partner can be added into business, that's when you talk of how to join and how to leave the business. That's when you talk of the partnership, either the powers to join and the powers to leave. It is also indicated there. The other one is that step to be taken when dissolving a partnership. How shall we dissolve our partnership? Which steps shall we take? That's when you talk of the partnership deed. So those are the items that will be there: the name, the general description of the business, the powers and duties of each partners, the financial contribution of each partner, how profit and losses will be divided, how partners can leave the business, steps to be taken to dissolve the partnership, and others. Now let's look at the rights and obligations of partners. Let's start with the rights of the partners. What are the rights? Which rights do partners have? Number one, it is share in management and operations of the business. Any partner in a business has the right to manage the business and as well as to take part in its daily operations. Number two, it is share in any profits of the partnership. Yes, if the partnership, if the partnership makes some profits, each partner is supposed to have a share of that particular profit or loss. This is two-way. It's either a profit or loss. So each partner has the right to share either the profit or the loss of the profit or the loss of the partnership. That's when you talk of partnership. The other thing that to have access books of accounts and records. If at any given point a partner wants to get any information concerning the business, they have that right to access these books of accounts as well as the records of this particular organization. That's when you talk of that. The other one is right to receive a formal accounting of the business affairs of the partnership. Yes, the partnership should also get that particular formal accounting of the business affair. They should be shown how the business activities are done, how the business is being run. That's when you talk of that. Then the other one we can look at, we've looked at the rights of the partners. Let's look at the obligations of the partners. Number one, obligations of the partners is number one is that share in any losses incurred by the business. Yes, as I had just said earlier, is that for any business, there is two things that can there's two things that a business can do. It can either make a profit or it can either incur a loss. When the business incurs a loss, every partner is supposed to have a share in it. Number two is that work for partnership without salary as necessary. Yes, partners can work for business, can work for this particular partnership business without salary, or they can render their services to the business without a salary, if that is the agreement. The other one is that submit to the majority vote all arbitrations of differences that may arise among the partners. Yes, you know, because there are some partners, voting must usually take place when it comes to deciding on some issues, and therefore when it comes to decision making, if at any given point a partnership has voted and there were minority and majority, the minority should submit to the decision of the majority. The last one is give other partners complete information about all the affairs of the partnership. Sometimes the partners usually commit the organization of the business under one partner. And if that is the case, that partner who is committed to run the business alone on behalf of the others. So what they are supposed to do is that they are supposed to provide any information concerning the business for running this particular business. So that's when we talk of partnership or rights and obligation. So I want us now to look at the advantages and disadvantages of the business. And we shall start with the advantages. Number one, advantages of the partnership is that there is increased capital due to increased number of members of the business. Yes, unlike sole proprietorship, we have said that the partnership shall be made up of two or more people. So, because of that particular fact, because of the fact that the number of partners, the number of business owners have increased, even the contributions in the business also increases. So that doesn't talk over, there is increased capital due to the partners' contributions. The more the partners, the higher the contribution. The other one is that they have a greater access to finance, unlike sole proprietors. Yes, for partnership, they can access capital more or better or in a better way than the sole traders. You remember we say that one of the challenge of the sole trader is that they have limited sources of capital. But when it comes to partnership, because of the fact that there is more people and the business is bigger than the sole proprietorship, that means that this particular form of business have large access of capital than the sole proprietorship. The other one is that the business is not taxed. Yes, you don't tax a partnership business, but you tax the partners. Unlike other forms of businesses, like companies, whereby the company is the one that is taxed. When it comes to partnership, it is the business that is taxed in that particular case. So that's when you talk of that. The other one is that the losses are shared among the partners according to the agreed ratios. Yes, unlike in the sole proprietorship, whereby the sole proprietor incurs the losses alone or goes with the losses alone. When it comes to the partnership business, the losses incurred will be shared among the partners. Unlike the first case, or unlike the first business form of business. The other thing is that that is the other one is that there is wide range of experience and expertise brought by different partners. Yes, for partnership there is a lot of partners, there is different people who are there in the business, and therefore they will give a wide range of ideas and knowledge as per to how the business is run. Doesn't talk of there is a wide range of experience and expertise brought by different partners in the business. So that is when we talk of the advantages of the partnership. Let's look at the disadvantages. Disadvantages. Number one is that partners are personally liable in case the business incurred debts. Just like sole proprietorship, in case the business has some debts, the partners will be personally liable for the business debts. Number two is that there is slow decision making due to consultation. Because of the fact that this sole proprietorship have many members, these members will keep on consulting each other on any decision that has to be made. So because of the fact that there is that consultation, that large wide range of consultation, decision making process will be slower. Doesn't talk of that. Number three is that a decision by one partner can lead the other into liable since they are jointly liable. If one partner makes a wrong decision, he can make other people to suffer because they are not separated, they are united. The other one is that profit is shared. In the partnership, the profit is shared. No one enjoys the profit alone. Like in the sole proprietorship, the profit in this case is usually shared. The other one is that the requirement to start a business is more compared to the sole trader. Yes, for partnership, the requirement for starting a the partnership business will be more compared to a sole proprietorship. And this is because for sole proprietor you don't need things like the agreement, the partners agreement or the partnership deed. You don't require things to do with the declaration of the members and all those ones. There may be the concession of others. So because of that, there is a lot, the process will be more when it comes to that. The other one is that there is lack of continuity due to that of one partner. Mostly in this case, if what we call a major partner dies, the business is also likely to die. The business may end with his life. If a major partner dies, the business is also likely to die. So that's when we talk of that. So the business can come to an end because of the death of one partner. That's a disadvantage. Yes. What can make a partnership business to be dissolved, or what are ways through which a partnership form of business can be dissolved? There are 4 instances that can make a partnership business to be dissolved. Number 1 is an event which the business makes unlawful business or carries out unlawful business activities. If the partnership undertakes or carries out some unlawful businesses, like things that the business was not allowed to do, maybe the business the business carried out what we call like, for example, the sale of drugs, sale of things that are outrode by the rules of a country. So if that is the case, that partnership can be dissolved. The other one is that if the partnership period comes to an end, if the partnership period comes to an end. Yes, if the partnership period, like for example, there are some partnerships that are formed to do a certain work for a particular period of time. So when this period comes to an end, this partnership will lapse. Like for example, if it is a partnership, like now we know we have COVID-19. If we have a business that is formed as a partnership to tackle the problem of COVID-19, and at the end we eliminate the disease. So what will happen? This particular form of business will come to an end because we have completed what we had started, or what the business was formed to do. The other one is that if the business was entered into for a single venture or undertaking which has come to an end. Sorry, for the first one, we can give over period. Like for example, if the business is formed for only for 1 year and that 1 year lapses, so that's when talk of if the fixed period has lapsed. For the third one, this is when we talk of like the example that I had given for COVID-19. If the business is formed maybe to deal with the problem of COVID-19, and we maybe we solve the problem completely, so this will make now the business to come to an end. So that's when talk of that one. Then number 4 is death, bankruptcy of any partner. Death or bankruptcy of any partner. Yes, if a member has died or has been declared bankrupt, that partnership will come to an end. Or in other cases, if through a court order the business has, or a partner has gone to the court so as to request the partnership to be put to an end. So that one will cause the partnership to come into an end. That's when we talk of death, bankruptcy of a partnership, or through a court order. Let's look at types of partnership. There are various forms of partnership. And the first one is what we call limited liability partnership. This is where all partners receives limited liability protection. When talk of limited liability protection, this is where partners or the partnership it's on its own, whereby the business will be flexible in its operation, and it will also be formed to do a particular form of business. And in this case, the partners
will be responsible, will not be responsible for the liabilities of the firm or for the debts of the firm. So that's when we talk of the limited liability partnership. That's when we talk of that. Then the other one is what we call unlimited liability partnership. When we talk of unlimited liability partnership, this is a partnership whereby all partners have unlimited liability, meaning that the debts of the partnership will be taken to be the debts of the owners of the business. There is no separation between the business and the owners. So they'll be taken as one and the same thing when it comes to limited liability, unlimited liability partnership. So those are the forms of a partnership. So to check whether I am alone or I'm not,
what is a company? What is a company? I know you've done law and you've defined what a company is. But when you talk of a company, we usually talk of it is a corporation that has a distinct legal life separate from that of owners. When we talk of a company, we are talking of an entity that has a distinct legal right that is separate from the owners. So what are we saying when talk of the company has a distinct life that is separate from that of owner? What we are saying is that the company and the owners of the company, whom we call the shareholders, are two different persons. I don't know whether you are doing law now or you've done it before. You are told that a company can also be referred to as a legal person. When you talk of a company being a legal person, it means that it can do some things that a natural person can do. Things like owning of properties, other things like it can be taken to court, or it can take someone to court. It can own property just like the normal person. It can own property. It can sell property. So just like the normal person, doesn't talk of it being an organization that has a distinct legal life that is separate from its owners. For a company to be formed, there are some 4 documents that are supposed to be prepared, and we shall go through them. Number 1 is what we call the Memorandum of Association, or MOA. This, when talk of a Memorandum of Association, this is a document that shows how the business will relate with the outsiders. When you talk of the business in relations with the outsiders, we are talking of things like the name of the company. This memorandum of association will have the name of the company. Like, for example, if it is Uzuli Limited or Uzuli Company, that particular memorandum of association will indicate what is the name of the company. So it is Uzuli Limited. If it's a public company, the name will end with PLC, that is Uzuli Public Limited Company. Number 2, we shall also talk of where the company is registered. That's when you talk of the head office. And we shall, by so doing, we shall give the physical address and the building through which the head office is located at. The other one is the liability of the members. We talk over how is the liability. Is it limited? Is it unlimited? But for companies, the liabilities of the members is usually limited. When you say the limited liabilities of the members, you remember we say that for limited liabilities, members cannot be called upon to pay the debts of the company when the company becomes maybe is bankrupt, or the assets of the company cannot be able to pay its obligations. The other one is also in the memorandum of association, is it will also show the capital of the company. So it will show how much capital has been raised in terms of, in this case, we shall be talking of the authorized share capital of the company. So that's when we talk of the memorandum of association. Another document that will be prepared for companies is what we call the articles of association, A of A, or AOA. When you talk of the articles of association, this is a document that shows the association of the organization within the organization, the association of the company from within. It shows now the matters. You know, memorandum of association, we see that it shows the association of the company with the outsider, the image that the company will show to the outsiders. But this now, the articles of association will show it the company's internal affairs. So that's when we talk of it is concerned with internal administration of the company. And therefore, it will talk of things like appointment and the power of the directors. The other thing that will be there, it is the rules about shareholders. This one, there are some shareholders who can vote in an AGM, and those who cannot vote in an AGM. Like, for example, when talk of, we have for most companies, we'll be talking of two types of shareholders. We'll have what we call the ordinary shareholders and the preference shareholders. When talk of the ordinary shareholders, these are shareholders who have voting rights. And for these particular shareholders, they can vote in an AGM. For the other types of shareholders, like the preference shareholders, they don't have the voting rights. So that one will be captured in the articles of association. Then we shall also have the types of the shares. And when talk of the types of the shares, just like I had said of the types of the shareholders, there is also the types of shares. Like we have what we call the ordinary shares and preference shares, and each share has some rights attached to it. The other one is the rules and the procedures of transferring shares. This one will be talking of how can you transfer share from one shareholders to the other, from one shareholders to another shareholders. There are shares which can be easily transferred from one person to another, like the ordinary shares. But for preference shares, they cannot be transferred that easily. The other one is that we shall also have what we call the details of the first directors of the company. And this one will have things like their name, their date of birth, their occupations, and maybe the other directorship for the last 5 years, if they have been directors in other companies for the last 5 years. So that one will also be noted there. Then there is another document that must be there, that is the Incorporation Certificate, or the Certificate of Incorporation. When we talk of the Certificate of Incorporation, this is a certificate that now separates the business from the shareholders. So that's when we talk of a company is a legal person, and it becomes a legal person because of this incorporation certificate. It makes the shareholders to be separate from the business. That's when we talk of the certificate of incorporation. The other thing that the other document that must be there for companies to start, this is the trading certificate. When you talk of the trading certificate, this is a certificate that allows the companies, allow the organization to trade with each other. Doesn't talk of trading certificate. And this will only affect what we call the public companies.
For private company, they are allowed to start business when they have the incorporation certificate as they await the trading certificate or license. But for public companies, they cannot do business without the two certificates. That is the incorporation certificate and the trading certificate. I hope that one is clear. So note, for a company to be started, there must be a memorandum of association, that is MOA. There must be an articles of association, that is AOA, and there must be incorporation certificate, and there must be the trading certificate. Let's look at now the advantages of a limited company. Advantages of a limited company. When we talk of a limited company, in this case, we are talking of both public and private. Number one is that the shareholders have limited liability. When we talk of the shareholders having been a limited liability, is that if the business has some debts and its assets cannot pay these debts, the shareholders cannot be called upon to pay these particular debts. Another one is that they can issue, they have large sources or many sources of capital, unlike other two forms of business that we've looked at. Another one is that the company's name is protected by law. Yes. One thing before you start a company, you usually protect the name of that particular company, meaning that no other person can start the company under that particular name. That's when you talk of the name of the company is protected. That's when you talk of that. The other thing that is there is that there is perpetual existence. When talk of perpetual existence, it means that even if the founders of the company dies, the company can continue in existence with when the directors or of the founders of the company dies. That's when you talk of perpetual existence. The business will continue even when the shareholders of the company dies. The other thing is that there is democratic management. When talk of democratic management, it means that the partners in a business can vote in order maybe to decide on how the company will be ran. The other one is that there is easy transfer of ownership. For companies, people can exchange the shares. Like a shareholder can sell his or her shares to another person. Another shareholders can buy shares from another person. That's on top of easy exchange of shares. What are the disadvantages? Number one is that employees feel distant from its owners. Yes, given that the company is owned by the shareholders, sometimes employees do not get a chance to interact with the owners or the shareholders. So they feel separated, or they feel separate from the owners of this particular company. That's when talk of REIT. The other disadvantage is that it is expensive to run a company. Yes, unlike other business, it is expensive to run it because of many costs. The other thing is that the company's records are open to the public. I know you might have seen the books of accounts of a company in a newspaper, in a booklet, in a newsletters. So they cannot keep secrets because the records will be made public. The other one is that decision making is complex because of the large number of people associated with it. The company will have a lot of members in form of shareholders. So making a decision will be very, very difficult. The other one is that there is double taxation. The company will pay a lot of taxes. There is what we call corporate tax, there is VAT, there is personal taxes. So there is not double taxation when it comes to that. So that's when we talk of the disadvantages of companies. When we shall retire, I will request you to light on the similarities between between a public company and a limited liability company. That one we shall look when we shall go to the discussion forum. I will not look at public and private companies. That one we shall look at it together in the discussion forum. Then let's look at cooperatives. Let's look at cooperative. When talk about cooperative, a cooperative is it's an organization whereby more than 10 people come together in order to carry out some economic activities. And one thing that must be known for cooperatives is that cooperatives usually brings together people with a certain interest, like farmers, like teachers, like producers. They will come together and will start a business, a form of business called the cooperative. And in this cooperative, they are usually learned at a principle called the principle of voluntary and open membership, meaning that this particular for cooperative, everybody can join as they wish and they can leave as they wish. Doesn't talk of open and voluntary membership. Doesn't talk of that. Let's look at the principles of cooperative. Any cooperative is usually started under the following principles. Number one is open and voluntary membership. When talk of open and voluntary membership, it means that any member can join as they wish, and they can leave the cooperative as they wish. That's it. Another principle of cooperative is what we refer to as a democratic administration. When talk of democratic administration, this is where members can vote in order to pass some decisions. In a cooperative, like in the company, for any decision to be passed, members have to vote in an AGM. That's when you talk of democratic administration. And unlike the companies, for cooperatives, one person stands in for one share. Note that one person represents one vote. Sorry, one person represents one vote for cooperatives. For companies, one share represents one vote. That is the difference between the voting system of a cooperative and a company, whereby we are saying that for a cooperative, one vote is equivalent, one person is represents one share. For a company, one share represents one vote. That's when you talk of democratic administration. The other one is that limited rate of interest. Yes, for cooperatives, the rate of interest, mostly on borrowings, usually low. Like for example, when members borrow, you know of SACCOs. When you want to borrow from a SACCO, you know that the rate of interest that you will be charged on your loans, it will be lower compared to the bank. That's something that we look at. The other thing is education to members. Cooperatives usually we are given a chance to educate members on various issues. Like if it's a farmers cooperative, the members will be taught on how to manage their farms. If it is savings a SACCO,
Farmers, the savers will be taught how to save and all that. So what are the advantages that are there? I will not go through them. I've provided the notes. You go through the advantages of cooperatives from the notes, and that will mark the end of our discussion today. There, in my notes, there are yes, that is what we shall look for today. So I am giving this room for any question or query from your side. Queries, any query or any question or any comment.